Okay, so the last video on the Ushiro Waza Kaiten-nage. Some things to understand. And again, I'm using these techniques to kind of broaden what we're talking about to address what other questions people have in the community. So as I watch that video, it comes back to this, in my opinion, and this is one of the markers that distinguishes Senshin Aikido from other Aikido that's out there, okay? In particularly what makes it martial, or allows it to function martially. Those tactics contained within Kihon Waza, okay? So let me just review this stuff, okay? Here on the top line, we want to understand the kinesiology behind balance, okay? The official word is equilibrium. What makes up balance? What makes up equilibrium? What makes up posture, okay? And this is very important when it comes to a throwing art because we're trying to throw people from their given posture out of their given posture, and we're trying to take their balance, so to speak, okay? A couple things here that we have to remember, aside from equilibrium means balance, is that equilibrium is always dynamic in the human body, and especially in the human body, martially speaking. So I'm going to give it to you here static so that we understand the elements, but we must never forget that it is always dynamic. That really plays a role when it comes to fight applications, okay? So the elements of posture or an upright position, a balanced person, are threefold. One, you have the center of gravity, and two, you have the base of support. So the base of support are the contact points, in this case, let's say the feet. So one foot and the other foot, the contact points of the body on the ground and the area in between. So the area in between my feet. All of that makes up the base of support. Then you have a theoretical line. It doesn't really exist anatomically. You can't point to it. From the center of gravity, perpendicular to the surface upon which the base of support is. So in this case, if I was standing on the ground, these are my feet, the line of gravity is perpendicular from the center of gravity to the mat, okay? And as long as the line of gravity falls within the base of support, anywhere between my feet or on my feet, you will have equilibrium. You will maintain balance. That person is going to remain upright, okay? So that's what we have to understand generally on what's going on. We're dealing with this organization, okay? But how do we address disequilibrium in Senshin Aikido? So we have to first understand what is Aikiten. Now, I have never seen this phrase. In English, I refer to it as the seized center. But I use this phrase because seizure is metaphorical, and the Japanese addresses it better. So Aiki is communion of what? Of the tanden. And that is what leads to this seizure, this sense of my center part is being seized. Someone else is in control of it, okay? And this is the seed of Kazushi, and this is what is missing in Aikido everywhere else. And I'm sorry for those of you who still believe that your Shihan or this Shihan or you felt it, that you had some center-to-center connection with your Nage. And I'm sorry, I just don't buy it. I've never seen it. It's something different. For example, I've demonstrated quite clearly, in my opinion, that usually what's going on is linking which is just a pulling of the skin suit, the bones and the skin and stuff like that, that eventually affects the center of gravity. That's not Aikiten-den, okay? Aikiten-den can happen without any movement at all, right at touch. So what you would look for, I guess, is as soon as you see my ukes either touch me here or I touch them, you kind of see them experience this kind of contraction that's happening. It's also what you see when I share the Tai Chi videos, because it's just Silk Road, Eastern Silk Road, understanding of the yin-yang aspects at an alchemical or / energetic level. You always see that kind of happening, okay? And I'm sorry, it's just not in Aikido. It's not in Aikido. After O-sensei, you just don't see it anywhere, okay? But that is what we do at touch. So it looks on the surface that everything is still in place and the body remains upright, but something has changed in the seizure of the center. In this model where the person is upright, the person has control of their center and they position it within their base of support and they remain upright. Here, they don't have control of their center, but for the time being, it is left within the base of support, and so they remain upright, but they don't have control of their center. That is very, very important, okay? Because we're gonna do something with that. We are going to take this control of the center as the seed, as Aikiten-den is the seed of Kazushi. And then we want to understand something, and this is the important part on what makes Senshin Aikido martially viable and what makes Federite Aikido, modern Aikido, not martially viable, okay? So we are going to generate disequilibrium, a loss of balance, a loss of posture, Kazushi, but we do it in the following way. We take the C's center of gravity and we move it out from on top of the base of support. So the line of gravity, the theoretical line from the center of gravity to the surface upon which the base of support rests, is going to fall outside of the base of support. Here are my feet and the area between my feet. And as we move the center of gravity, the C center of gravity, one way, we always move the base of support another way, the opposite way, okay? That way, as we mentioned in the last video, when we generate the topsy-turvy effect, we kicked out the legs one way and we made the head go the other way, okay? And as we did that, as we tilt the body, sending the center of gravity up towards the head as it starts to lean, here's the head, and the base support goes the other way, the person always falls. That is innate in the X pattern, and I would ask you to understand it as a direct generation of loss of balance, of disequilibrium. What modern Federite Aikido does is a passive generation of disequilibrium. And the difference is they accelerate uke. So what they do is they leave this base of support under here and they attempt to, by linking or pulling on the skin suit or getting out of the way, move the center of gravity outside of the base of support. That would look like this. Let's say here's the base of support, the area in between. They don't have a C center. They just have a center of gravity. And then they try to move it this way. Until eventually they get it somewhere over here, outside of the base of support. So the line is here. Line of gravity, center of gravity. And now the person falls. Now what happens though in real fighting is the person, the opponent, always just moves their base of support with you moving their line of gravity. And they don't fall. They reposition, they change levels, they counterattack, okay? And so acceleration or passive generation of disequilibrium just does not function martially. It doesn't, okay? So hence why I'm opposed to acceleration throws, and I want to see X pattern throws. I want to see the two main elements of equilibrium move apart from each other and unable to move back towards each other, okay? So let's get into that in this Ushiro Waza Kiten-nage now. All right, a couple things to bring into the technique. Because I have to move the center of gravity and the line of gravity outside the base of support. I have to do that directly. I have to do it. I have to move it until it's out of the base of support. I don't want to push it in the direction of going outside and then inertia or acceleration continues it past the base of support. Okay, so we bend them over in Kiten-nage. And so right now her center of gravity is in her hara. But as she starts to lean over, the center of gravity travels up the body and the line of gravity moves forward. You see? Okay, and we keep going. And that line of gravity is now somewhere around here. Now, if I keep taking her this way, eventually it will pass outside her toes and it'll generate the loss of balance, okay? Now, if that's all I do, so let's say I directly take the line of gravity, so I'm gonna push so that my hand passes her toes. My hand will pass her toes, okay? That's an example of me directly causing that to happen. An acceleration is me pushing to her toes or towards her toes, but not directly going past it. This is what I'm trying to do. And you can generate a little more and it'll work, okay? But as you can see in each case, she didn't do a forward roll because she can reposition her base of support back under. So I will do the direct method where my hand itself passes her base of support, and you can watch that she's just stepping under it and regains her balance. Even on the acceleration one, she can do the same. They don't do forward rolls, okay? Now, if I stop her body from moving forward, and I do the same, moving her forward, she will eventually fall out, okay? If I take her legs in the opposite direction, so here I'm still trying to bring her center of gravity up her body, line of gravity outside her base support. If I take her legs like a rethrow so that her legs are going, I won't do the top part, but her legs are going back, now she's gonna fall every time. So you're doing the same thing, she's gonna fall every time. No athleticism is gonna let her bring her legs back underneath her, okay? So that's a kind of understanding of what we're talking about. So let's focus in on the arm. We're kind of in this position, and we have this arm in Kiten-nage. And this is very, very common that I just accelerate the arm. Let's have it more like the technique. So let's bring your right foot forward. There you go, okay? We're here like this. And you kind of give that cue to the uke, okay? There's something to notice here. This is the shoulder joint. And there's a lot of slack as the contact point at the wrist travels without manipulating the center of gravity and thus the line of gravity. So I'm here like this, and the joint is absorbing all of the force. And I have not affected the line of gravity at all. And you will not affect it until on this path that all the Federites take. You will not affect it, and I'll just have her tell me when it gets tight so the viewer and the camera can feel it. Okay, so now it's running out of slack, and now at this point, as I go, you can see that it will start to manipulate the center of her body. Okay? But as I said, equilibrium is dynamic. And so if I stay on this Federite trajectory, as she starts to turn, and I've got to hold her, and she's got to tell us. So here's where that tension is that she felt. But as she starts to turn her body, you can see that the relationship changed on the shoulder. So come back. Look where I am to her shoulder joint. But as she starts to roll, I'm not in that anymore. Stay where you are right now. Here's where that tension is. Do you see? So you can't hear no direct effect on the line of gravity till about here. And as she starts to roll, it starts to go off. Do you see? So now I'm not directly causing equilibrium, it's passive equilibrium, okay? But usually what happens is, she's gonna roll, so scoot back. The dressage pony uke feels that, and that's their cue to go. But no one does that in a fight, okay? So as she's trying to turn my hand around, and she's trying to do that, and I feel my balance, and I regain my posture. As that slack goes off. So here she is. Let's control my head here. Let's change feet. Okay. So as she starts to go, there's no tension there. Go back. So from here to there, there's no effect on my center of gravity. Until she hits the joint tension, there it is. And as I start to turn, it comes off again. And now I'm back in the fight. That's what everyone will do that's fighting. So, there's a couple ways where you get the arm tension. It's not here. There's too much slack there. You have to figure out where that is. So if you pay attention, when I'm back here, no arm tension in the shoulder, no direct manipulation of the center. If I come out here, you can see how more readily that is, okay? And usually we do this technique because I'm going to turn her. So for example, I'm bring her head this way, and that generates more arm tension as we're coming along. And then I move into that yin spot where she gets it back. So I would be moving this way, okay? And I stay there as best you can. And now there's arm tension here affecting her center this way. do it one more time. So to get that arm tension, the hand has to be forward of the shoulder. When the hand is back of the shoulder, there's no arm tension. When the hand is above the shoulder, towards the head side of the shoulder, you will get the arm tension more readily, okay? And in the technique that I did, when we do this, I try to always keep the hand north of the shoulder, and then that joint will not take the slack out of the control of her center. But that is not Kaiten-nage, okay? But that's the only time I ever used the hand to manipulate the center. In the technique, let's move further. In the technique, we use this fact that she is, step back with your right foot, that she's coming around this way. And we use up the joint to project. This way, boom. And so that is right here. And just to do it externally, it is a direct application of displacing them. Just to there, change feet, okay? And you have to displace her past her base of support. So if I only go like that, her line of gravity never traveled outside her base of support. Your projection must move her center outside that foot. Okay? So when you're doing the throw, and this is why my ukes don't roll right where they're at. They find their roll somewhere out there because the center got projected past the base of support. Okay? If the uke absorbs, like she's even absorbing, because it's scary, okay? She's absorbing, you follow it to the next contact point, which is here. I don't come back up to the arm. So I'm in the center, absorbs, now I'm here, and then the same thing. My hand must go past her base of support. My hand itself, I don't just do that. My hand itself goes past that foot. The distance that I have to travel to get past that foot gets shorter as we're on the curve, okay? So as we're on the curve here, it's very short to get past that foot in the technique. So on the arm control, let's do Ushiro Waza. Go around, boom. Okay, and here we are on this technique. Boom, it's right here. Project past her base of support. I don't do Ushiro Waza again. Boom. This. Okay, so use the arm, use the Kokyu projection to directly send the line of gravity outside the base of support, all the way, not accelerate it towards being outside the base of support. Okay, the next thing I would want to address is the use of the claw. We already know I can't double pivot, I can't double weight, and so we already know that not only does that mean that I don't turn both feet, but my line of gravity is never off one foot in the middle of my two basis supports on a rotation. So I never ten-con like that. That never happens. I do the turn on one foot and then this foot steps straight back. That's ten-con. Okay, so I never do this. That maneuver, that ruddering, that double weighting, double pivoting, that line of gravity in between the two base support elements is just modern Aikido. It does not function martially because it cannot overcome any resistance which you're going to face in a fight, because the oppositional force to what you're trying to manipulate will eventually cut through your base support elements on the shikaku line in Japanese, and it will pull you off balance. And if it pulls you off balance, inversely, that means you won't have the positional integrity required to displace their mass, okay? Because modern Aikido are dressage ponies and they take any cue, that's where you see that, it functioning, because it's not actually being used to displace an opponent, even to throw them, okay? It's not actually being used. So common ones, and Mayukas don't know this, so just kind of understand that. So common ones, for example, is I do Kotagaesh, I would throw from here and move my quad into the power. Okay? And so as let's say she wants to go that way, you want to resist and pull that way. Okay? She feels the power of the quad. Okay? That's what she feels. Like, I'm very strong there. Okay? Very powerful. She also feels the grounding foot. So as she tries to resist the throw, she feels that leg grounding. Then the quad moves, and you have the power. In Federate Aikido, start over, you're going to do a ten-con there. Okay? It's something here, and I ten-con into the throw. And we'll go kind of slow so you can see where I will lose my power. So she's going to again resist. She's trying to go straight ahead, fighting the throw, okay? And so here, she's going to feel that front foot, but as I start to turn around, she's still trying to go that way. And then I start to lose the integrity of it. And I think you could just walk forward right about now. But no one experiences that because the uke always has the cue. Here's the cue. And then they go ahead and throw themselves, okay? So same thing here on this technique. We came under. That's my cue. You see, I can do the ten-con. Okay, so let's put the other foot back. Okay, and I have to bring her forward into the throwing angle. Okay, so she's going to resist. What she's going to feel first is my grounding here, where I do this onto this foot. And now when I'm on this foot, then this foot can move. So I'm on that foot, okay? And now we're here. She's still trying to pull that way. She will feel the quad power. When I'm here like this, and she doesn't want to come forward, and I do that ten-con, I cannot pull her forward. I'm not in position. So she's trying to walk away that way. Walk away. Okay? And as I start to tenkan, I'm going to lose some power. Okay? That is demonstrating that I can't throw bigger people, I can't throw resisting people, I can't throw stronger people. And this is why it doesn't function martially. Okay? What usually happens here when you see the tenkan is this is the cue. So she gets the cue. And so I can go and do that tenkan. But you could have done anything, right? So I'm here like this. You're gonna roll, take the cue. We're gonna. You could have done that. It had as much. You could have done that. None of those function kinesiologically. Okay. So when we do the technique, boom, boom, it's leg and glute power, boom, boom, and quad power. That's all I can go. Don't rotate. Don't rotate. Boom. This is it. That's all you get. Okay? To put the power of rotation in the quad. That's it. What is that? It's in Kokyu-ho. So when I do Kokyu-ho, my quad turns. That's where the throw is. That's as far as I can go. Don't turn your waist. This is it. You got to get the head. You got to think ahead. Got to control the head. Watch your foot. And then don't push the head. The head comes around. The head comes around. The head comes around. Switch you, Nage.